Beneath the golden cascade of autumn leaves in Central Park, a little girl named Lily, her eyes bright as stars, clutched a freshly bought candy stick, its red wrapper glinting in the fading sunlight. Spotting a man, Alex, slumped on a stone bench, his face heavy with sorrow, she broke free from her mother's hand. With a skip and a smile, she offered him the candy, chirping, "This'll make you fly like a superhero." Her small act of kindness lit a spark in his shadowed heart. Like and subscribe to uncover how one candy changes everything in this heartwarming tale. The autumn air carried a crisp bite, stirring the golden leaves that drifted like embers across the winding paths of Central Park. Anna's worn sneakers crunched softly against the gravel, her hand gripping Lily's tiny fingers as they wandered through the fading light. Her canvas tote, frayed at the seams, hung heavy on her shoulder, holding nothing but a few crumpled dollars and the weight of another long day. Anna's blonde hair, tucked messily under a faded scarf, caught the breeze, and her breath puffed in small, anxious clouds. At 28, she wore exhaustion like a second skin, her eyes scanning the park for a moment of peace. Lily, her 4-year-old daughter, was a burst of color against the graying dusk. Her too small sweater, patched at the elbows, clung to her frame, and her sneakers, scuffed and muddy, barely kept up with her skipping steps. But her eyes, big, brown, and endlessly curious, searched the world as if it held secrets waiting to be unwrapped. In her free hand, she clutched a red-wrapped candy stick, its dappled wrapper crinkling as she swung it like a wand. Anna had bought it that morning with the last coins from her tip jar, a small indulgence to coax a smile from her daughter after another night in their cramped Brooklyn apartment, where the heater sputtered and the landlord's threats echoed. "Mommy, look, a squirrel!" Lily's voice chirped, bright as a bell, as she pointed at a furry blur darting up an oak. Anna managed a tired smile, her heart lifting at the sound. "Careful, sweetheart. Don't trip," she murmured, tightening her grip. But Lily's attention had already wandered, her gaze snagging on a solitary figure across the path. He sat on a stone bench, a man in a dark, threadbare coat, his shoulders hunched as if the weight of the world pressed them down. Alex, 38, was a shadow of the man he'd once been, a celebrated musician whose melodies had filled concert halls and airwaves. Now his face was pale, his dark hair unkempt, and his eyes, hollowed by grief, stared blankly at the ground. He'd just come from the cemetery, where Emily's headstone stood cold under the autumn sky. 2 years ago, a drunk driver had stolen her in a heartbeat, leaving Alex adrift in a life that no longer made sense. The park, once their sanctuary, now felt like a graveyard of memories. Lily stopped, her candy stick pausing mid-swing. "Mommy," she whispered, tugging Anna's hand. "That man looks sad, like the bear in my book when he lost his honey." Her voice was soft, earnest, her brows furrowing in a way that made her look older than her years. Anna glanced at the man, her instincts flaring. "Don't stare, Lily," she said gently, pulling her along. But Lily's feet were stubborn, planted firmly on the path. Before Anna could react, Lily broke free, her small figure darting across the grass. "Lily!" Anna called, her voice sharp with worry. But the girl was already at the bench, standing before Alex with the boldness only a child could muster. She held out her candy stick, its red wrapper catching the last rays of sunlight, and smiled, her eyes sparkling like polished chestnuts. "Hey, mister," she said, her voice clear and sweet. "You look like you need this more than me. It's got magic in it. Makes you smile like a superhero." Alex blinked, startled, as if waking from a dream. He lifted his head, meeting Lily's gaze. Her smile was a beacon, untainted by the world's cruelties, and for a moment he couldn't breathe. His trembling hand reached out, closing around the candy stick, its wrapper crinkling under his fingers. Thank you," he managed, his voice hoarse, cracked from disuse. A single tear slipped down his cheek, catching the light like a falling star. Lily clapped her hands, bouncing on her toes. "See? It's working already," she giggled, though Alex's lips hadn't yet curved. Anna reached them, breathless, her cheeks flushed. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice tight with embarrassment. She gets ideas." She grabbed Lily's hand, ready to pull her away, but Alex shook his head, his eyes still locked on the candy. "No, It's okay, he said softer now. She's kind. His gaze flicked to Anna, then back to Lily, who waved enthusiastically. Eat it, mister. It's strawberry. Best flavor ever, she chirped, skipping back to her mother. As Anna led Lily away, the girl turned one last time, her voice carrying over the rustling leaves. Don't forget to smile, okay? Alex watched them disappear down the path, the candy stick heavy in his hand. He unwrapped it slowly, the scent of strawberry flooding his senses, pulling him back to a memory of Emily sharing sweets with neighborhood kids, her laughter echoing in their old apartment. His chest tightened, not with the familiar ache of loss, but with something new, a flicker of warmth, fragile but real. He stood, slipping the candy into his pocket, and walked toward the park's exit, his steps less heavy than before. Lily's face, her unfiltered kindness, lingered in his mind, stirring questions he hadn't dared ask in years. Who was this child, so quick to give what little she had? And why did her gesture feel like the first note of a song he'd forgotten how to play? He didn't know their story, but he wanted to. Not to intrude, but to understand how a 4-year-old could see the man he'd stopped seeing in himself. The leaves fell around him, whispering of change, and for the first time in 2 years, Alex felt the faint pull of a melody, one he wasn't ready to write, but couldn't ignore. The glow of a single street lamp seeped through the heavy curtains of Alex's Greenwich Village apartment, casting jagged shadows across a room frozen in time. The air was thick with dust, clinging to the edges of a grand piano that hadn't sung in 2 years. Framed photos lined the shelves, Emily's smile radiant in each, her eyes crinkling as she held a guitar or tossed candy to laughing children. Alex sat slumped in an armchair, the candy stick from Lily resting on the coffee table, its red wrapper a stark splash of color against the muted grays of his world. His fingers grazed the wrapper, the crinkle loud in the silence, stirring a memory of Emily's voice. Kids see the good in everything, Alex. Don't ever forget that. He closed his eyes, letting the memory flood him. Emily, his muse, his anchor, had been a school teacher with a laugh that could thaw winter. Together they'd built a life of music, his songs climbing charts, filling stadiums, while she taught kids to dream through art and stories. 2 years ago, a drunk driver's reckless turn had snuffed out her light, leaving Alex to wander a life that felt like a song with no chorus. He'd abandoned his music, his friends, the world that once cheered his name. The piano, once their shared heartbeat, now stood like a tombstone, its keys untouched, its strings mute. The candy stick stared back at him, a tiny relic of a stranger's kindness. Lily's face flashed in his mind, those wide, trusting eyes, her giggle as she called him a superhero. Why had she given him her only treasure? He'd seen the worn patches on her sweater, the scuffs on her mother's shoes. They had so little, yet she'd offered everything. His throat tightened, a familiar ache, but this time it carried a different weight. Not just grief, but a question. Could something so small, so sweet, pull him back from the edge? He stood restless and paced to the piano. His fingers hovered over the keys, trembling, as if afraid to wake the ghost within. He pressed a single note, a soft, mournful C-sharp that hung in the air like a sigh. The sound was both foreign and achingly familiar, a fragment of the life he'd left behind. He remembered Emily sitting beside him, humming as he composed Little Lights, a song about the spark of kindness in children. She'd loved its melody, saying it captured the magic of small gestures. Now that melody stirred in his chest, faint but persistent, like a heartbeat he'd forgotten he had. Alex sank onto the bench, his gaze drifting to a stack of old sheet music, Emily's handwriting scrawled in the margins. Play this one louder, love. He reached for a blank page, his hand shaking as he scribbled a few notes, the beginnings of something new. But doubt clawed at him. What was he doing? He wasn't that man anymore, the one who wrote songs that moved millions. He tore the paper, letting it fall like ash, and buried his face in his hands. I can't, he whispered to the empty room. Not without you. Yet Lily's voice echoed unbidden. It's got magic in it. He looked at the candy again, its wrapper crinkling as he picked it up. The scent of strawberry filled the air, pulling him back to summers with Emily, sharing sweets under starlit skies. He hadn't played since her death, hadn't wanted to feel anything. But this child, this stranger, had seen him, really seen him, when he'd thought he was invisible. Her gift wasn't just sugar, it was a mirror, showing him a man who might still have something to give. Driven by an impulse he couldn't name, Alex grabbed his coat and stepped into the chilly night. He wandered the streets of Greenwich Village, the city's hum a distant pulse, until he found himself in Brooklyn, outside a rundown apartment building. He learned about Anna through a mutual acquaintance at the community center, a single mother scraping by on tips, living in a place where the walls seemed to sag with despair. He stood across the street, hidden in the shadows, as a dim light flickered in a window. Through the smudged glass, he saw Anna cradling Lily, rocking her gently, a lullaby barely audible. The sight hit him like a chord, raw and resonant. He didn't approach. He wasn't ready to intrude, to offer help they might not want. But he needed to know more, not just about them, but about the kind of heart that could give a candy stick to a broken stranger. Was it desperation, hope, or something purer, something he'd lost when Emily's hand slipped from his? He turned away, the candy stick heavy in his pocket, and walked back into the night, the city's lights blurring into halos. Back in his apartment, Alex sat at the piano again, the darkness softer now, less oppressive. He didn't play, but he picked up a pencil, sketching a single lyric, a candy spark in a shadowed heart. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Lily's gift had cracked something open, a sliver of light in the endless gray. He didn't know where it would lead, but for the first time in 2 years, he wanted to find out. The piano waited, patient, as the first notes of a new song whispered in his soul, fragile but growing, like a melody waiting to be born. The Brooklyn Community Center hummed with life, its chipped walls and creaking floors alive with the chatter of volunteers and the laughter of children. Winter's first chills seeped through the windows, but the warmth inside pushed back the cold, a fragile defiance against the gray world beyond. Alex stood near the entrance, his scarf loose around his neck, feeling like an outsider in a place that pulsed with purpose. His hands fidgeted in his pockets, one brushing the candy stick's wrapper, now a talisman he couldn't leave behind. Lily's words, "makes you smile like a superhero," echoed in his mind, pulling him here, to the heart of her world. He'd come to the center on a whim, driven by the melody that had stirred in his apartment the night before. The notes he'd scribbled, tentative and raw, felt like a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. But the image of Lily's bright eyes, her unwavering gift, had rooted itself in him, refusing to let go. He scanned the room, half hoping to glimpse her tiny figure among the crowd, half dreading the weight of her mother's guarded gaze. The center was a lifeline for people like Anna, single mothers, struggling families, kids with too big dreams and too small coats. Alex wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he knew it started here. At a folding table, a group of volunteers sorted donated clothes, their voices a soft murmur against the clatter of coffee cups. Alex hesitated, then joined a circle of people in a support group for accident victims, their faces etched with stories he recognized too well. The facilitator, a woman with kind eyes, nodded at him. "Share if you're ready," she said. Alex's throat tightened, but he forced the words out, his voice low and rough. "A little girl gave me a candy stick in the park. She didn't know me, didn't know anything, but she saw me, said it had magic to make me smile. I haven't smiled in 2 years, not since my wife." He faltered, the room blurring. "That candy, it's the first thing that felt real since she was gone." The group fell silent, some nodding, others wiping tears. A man across the circle, his hands scarred from a crash, spoke softly. "Kids get it, don't they? They see what we forget." Alex clutched the candy wrapper in his pocket, its crinkle grounding him. He didn't mention Emily's name, but her presence lingered in every word, intertwined with Lily's gift. The group's warmth, their shared pain, chipped away at the walls he'd built. And for a moment, he didn't feel so alone. The center's doors swung open, and a burst of cold air ushered in a familiar figure. Lily bounded in, her too small sweater dotted with snowflakes, her cheeks pink from the chill. Anna followed, her face drawn but softened by a smile as Lily tugged her hand, babbling about a bird she'd seen. Alex froze, his heart lurching. Lily's eyes scanned the room, then landed on him, lighting up like twin stars. "Hey, it's you!" she squealed, breaking free to run toward him. She stopped short, digging into her pocket to pull out a crumpled sheet of paper. A drawing of a giant candy stick topped with a sparkling star. "I made this for you," she said, her voice high and earnest, her tongue peeking out as she grinned. "It's a magic candy tree, so you're never sad like that bear again." Alex knelt, taking the drawing with trembling hands. The colors, red, yellow, blue, bled together in a child's joyful chaos, and he felt his chest tighten, not with grief but with something softer, warmer. "This is incredible," he said, his voice catching. "You're the real superhero, you know that." Lily giggled, bouncing on her toes. "Nuh-uh, you are. Did you eat the candy yet?" Alex shook his head, a faint smile breaking through. "Not yet, saving it for the right moment." Anna approached, her eyes wary but kind. "She's been talking about you," she said quietly. "Says you needed her magic." "I did," Alex admitted, standing. "Thank you. For her." Anna nodded, her lips curving slightly, a silent understanding passing between them. Lily tugged her mother's sleeve, pointing at a table piled with toys. "Can we give stuff to kids, Mommy?" she asked, already darting off. Anna followed, glancing back at Alex with a look that said she wasn't ready to trust, but she wasn't closing the door either. Inspired by Lily's drawing, Alex found himself at the center's bulletin board, pinning up a handmade poster. "Chia se ngot ngao." Share a candy, share a smile. He didn't know where it would lead, but the idea felt right, like a chord finally resolving. He handed out candy sticks to kids at the center, their laughter echoing like a melody he hadn't heard in years. Lily's spirit, her fearless generosity, was a spark he wanted to fan into flame. He wasn't ready to play his piano yet, but he could start here, with something small, something sweet. As the day ended, Alex stepped outside, the Brooklyn air biting his skin. The center's lights glowed behind him, a beacon in the dusk. He pulled Lily's drawing from his coat, studying the candy tree under a street lamp's glow. The star at its top seemed to pulse, a reminder of Emily's words. "Kids see the good in everything." He folded the paper carefully, slipping it beside the candy wrapper. The melody in his head grew louder, a few notes clearer now, whispering of a song called Candy Magic. He walked into the night, the weight of his grief a little lighter, the promise of tomorrow a little closer. The Brooklyn night was alive with the soft glow of Christmas lights, their colors winking through a delicate veil of snow. The community center's warmth lingered in Alex's mind as he walked home. Lily's candy tree drawing tucked safely in his coat, its vibrant lines a quiet rebellion against the grayness of his world. Her voice, "So you're never sad like that bear again," danced in his thoughts, a melody he couldn't shake. The streets sparkled under the holiday sheen, but his Greenwich Village apartment remained a shadowed sanctuary, where memories of Emily clung to every corner like frost. Inside, the silence was heavy, broken only by the faint creak of floorboards under Alex's steps. The piano stood sentinel, its dust-covered keys a mute testament to his grief. He set Lily's drawing on the coffee table, its star seeming to pulse under the dim lamplight. The candy stick, still unopened, lay beside it, a twin relic of a child's faith. Restless, he turned to a wooden box on the shelf, a keepsake of Emily's, untouched since her death. His fingers hesitated, then lifted the lid, revealing a stack of letters tied with a faded ribbon. One envelope, in her familiar scrawl, bore his name. He sank into the armchair, heart pounding, and unfolded the letter. Emily's words spilled across the page, each loop and curve a piece of her voice. "Alex, my love, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But I need you to know something. I was a teacher before you knew me, pouring my heart into kids who had nothing but dreams. I saved every penny I could, a small fund for them, for kids like the ones we saw in Brooklyn, who deserve a chance to shine. It's in the bank under my maiden name. Use it, Alex. Let their light guide you, like they always guided me." His breath caught, tears blurring the ink. Emily, a teacher? She'd never told him, always deflecting with a laugh when he asked about her past. The secret felt like a gift, a final note in her song. The letter trembled in his hands, stirring a memory of Emily tossing candies to neighborhood kids, her smile brighter than any stage light. Lily's gesture, her candy stick, echoed that same selfless joy. Alex wiped his eyes, the ache in his chest shifting. Not lighter, but different, like a chord resolving into hope. He wanted to honor Emily, to honor Lily's spark. The next morning, he slipped out before dawn, leaving a package at the community center, a set of children's books and a box of colored pencils, labeled simply, "For the superhero girl." No name, no explanation, just a quiet act of gratitude. At the center, the air buzzed with holiday cheer, a small Christmas tree adorned with paper ornaments blinking in the corner. Lily burst through the doors, her mittens mismatched, her cheeks flushed from the cold. Anna trailed behind, her face weary but softened by her daughter's energy. "Mommy, look! Presents!" Lily squealed, spotting the package. She tore it open, her eyes widening at the books and pencils. "It's from my hero!" she cried, jumping so high her scarf slipped off. "He knows I love to draw." Anna frowned, puzzled, but her suspicion melted as Lily hugged the books to her chest, babbling about making a superhero picture for her mysterious friend. Lily plopped onto the floor, pencils scattering like confetti. She drew with fierce concentration, her tongue peeking out, sketching a man holding a candy stick beside a glittering Christmas tree. "This is for the nice man," she told Anna, her voice bright with purpose. "He's not a sad bear anymore." Anna knelt beside her, brushing a curl from her daughter's face. "You're something else, kiddo," she murmured, her heart swelling. She slipped the drawing into an envelope, leaving it at the center's desk with a note, "For the kind stranger." She didn't know it was Alex, but something in her gut told her it was him. When Alex found the drawing later that day, his breath hitched. The man in the picture had his dark hair, his lanky frame, but his face held a smile he hadn't worn in years. Lily's scrawled words read, "Smile big, like my candy." He clutched the paper, a lump rising in his throat. This child, with her boundless heart, was rewriting his story, note by note. He thought of Emily's fun, the thousands she'd saved for kids just like Lily. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to start something real, like art classes at the center, a place where kids could dream in color. He contacted the center's director, outlining a plan to fund free art classes, his voice steady for the first time in months. "It's for the kid," he said, "for the ones who give more than they have." The director agreed, and Alex felt a spark ignite, a melody taking shape. He wasn't ready to play it yet, but it was there, growing louder. As night fell, he stood outside the center, snow dusting his shoulders. Through the window, he saw Lily and Anna singing carols with other families, their faces aglow. Lily's laughter rang out, a bell in the dark, and Alex smiled. A real smile, fragile but true. The melody in his head hummed clearer now, a song called "Candy Magic," waiting to be sung. Snow dusted the Brooklyn streets, softening the edges of a world that had grown too sharp for Anna. The community center's glow lingered in her mind as she tucked Lily into a threadbare blanket, their apartment's heater coughing in defeat. The news had come that morning. The cafe where she worked had shuttered, its windows boarded up, leaving her with nothing but a final paycheck too small to cover rent. She forced a smile for Lily, but her hands trembled as she folded their last clean clothes, her heart heavy with the fear of losing their fragile home. Yet Lily, oblivious to the weight, hummed a tune, her tiny fingers tracing imaginary candy sticks in the air. "Mommy, you're sad," Lily said, her voice cutting through the quiet like a bell. She climbed onto Anna's lap, her too small sweater bunching at the shoulders. "I've got a magic candy for you," she mimed, handing over a stick, her eyes wide and earnest, her tongue peeking out as she grinned. Anna's laugh broke free, a sound she hadn't heard in herself for weeks. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, hugging Lily close. "You're my magic." But the moment passed, and the cold reality settled back in. bills unpaid, a future uncertain. Across town, Alex carried Lily's latest drawing in his coat, its cheerful lines a lifeline against the winter's bite. The melody of Candy Magic hummed in his head, growing louder each day. But it wasn't just the song driving him now. Emily's letter, her hidden fun for kids, had lit a fire he couldn't ignore. Lily's gift, her candy, her drawings, her fearless heart, had cracked open a door he'd thought sealed forever. He found himself at the community center again, its warmth a stark contrast to his lonely apartment. The poster for Chia Singot Ngao still hung on the bulletin board, its edges curling, but its message was spreading, whispered among volunteers and kids who clutched candy sticks like treasures. Lily's voice reached him before he saw her. "Everybody, come get a candy," she shouted, standing on a wooden bench in a nearby park, her mittens flapping as she waved a handful of candy sticks. She'd rallied her friends from the center, a ragtag crew of kids in mismatched coats, to host a free candy day. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, her hair a wild halo under her knit cap. "If you're sad, take one," she called, her voice high and gong-hue. "It makes you fly like a superhero." The kids giggled, passing out candies to passers-by, who paused, smiled, and joined the impromptu festival. An old man took a candy, chuckling. A woman in a hurry stopped, her face softening as she accepted one from Lily's tiny hand. Alex watched from a distance, his breath catching in the snowy air. Lily stood at the heart of it all, a beacon of joy, her laughter ringing out as she danced between the benches, handing out candies like they were wishes. Her spirit was infectious, pulling strangers into her orbit, turning a gray afternoon into something alive. Alex's eyes stung, not from the cold, but from the realization that this child, with so little, was giving the world a lesson he'd forgotten. Kindness could bloom even in the harshest winter. He thought of Emily, her dream of lifting kids like Lily, and felt the melody in his chest swell, its notes clearer, more urgent. He stepped closer, unnoticed, as Lily handed a candy to a weary street vendor, saying, "You look tired, mister. This'll make you smile." The man laughed, tucking the candy into his pocket, and Alex felt a pang. Lily was rewriting his story, and now she was rewriting others. He slipped into the community center, finding the director. "I want to fund art classes," he said, his voice steady, "for kids like her." He nodded toward Lily, still visible through the window, her arms wide as she spun in the snow. The director agreed, and Alex felt a weight lift, a purpose taking root. Anna arrived breathless, her face etched with worry. She spotted Lily in the park, then saw Alex inside. "She's at it again," Anna said, a tired smile breaking through. "Thinks she can fix everyone with candy." Alex nodded, his gaze soft. "She might be onto something." He hesitated, then added, "There's a job opening here, organizing programs. You'd be good at it." Anna's eyes narrowed, wary, but she didn't say no. "I'll think about it," she murmured, her voice holding a flicker of hope. As dusk fell, Lily ran to Anna, her hands empty but her face alight. "Mommy, everybody's happy now," she declared, hugging her mother's legs. Anna lifted her, kissing her forehead, and glanced at Alex, a silent thank you in her eyes. Alex turned away, stepping into the snow, Lily's drawing and candy stick warm in his pocket. The park glowed with the last light of day, and the melody of Candy Magic pulsed stronger, a song not just for him, but for everyone Lily touched. He wasn't healed, not yet, but he was moving forward, one sweet step at a time. The New York courthouse loomed like a monolith, its stone walls swallowing the winter light that filtered through high, narrow windows. Inside, the air was thick with tension, the hum of whispered voices and rustling papers filling the courtroom. Alex stood at the plaintiff's table, his hands clenched, his simple vest a stark contrast to the polished suits around him. The man across the room, the driver who'd taken Emily's life, sat with his head bowed, his face a map of regret. 2 years had passed since the screech of tires and the shattering of Alex's world. And now in this moment, he faced the wound head-on, Lily's candy stick a quiet weight in his pocket. The judge's voice droned, recounting the night a drunk driver's choice had stolen Emily's laughter, her warmth, her everything. Alex's mind flickered to her face, her eyes crinkling as she tossed candies to kids, her voice humming little lights in their kitchen. The memories cut deep, each one a blade, but Lily's words echoed through the pain. It's got magic in it, makes you smile like a superhero. He glanced at the candy's wrapper, tucked beside her drawing, and felt a steadiness he hadn't expected. This wasn't just about justice, it was about what came after. When called to speak, Alex stood, his voice low but clear, slicing through the courtroom's hush. 2 years ago, I lost my wife, he began, his eyes fixed on the driver. I lost the music in my life. I wanted to hate you, to let that pain define me. But a little girl gave me a candy stick and told me it could make me fly. She showed me kindness, doesn't ask for anything back. He paused, his throat tight. I don't want your punishment to be a cage. I want it to be a chance, to help others, to make amends. Join Chia Sengot Nyao. Help us spread kindness, like she did for me. The room stilled, breaths held, as the driver's eyes widened, tears spilling silently. A juror wiped her face, and even the judge leaned forward, caught in the weight of Alex's words. The gavel fell, the sentence a mix of probation and community service. But Alex's offer hung heavier than any verdict. The driver, a man broken by his own guilt, nodded, his voice barely audible. I'll do it. I'm sorry. The courtroom exhaled, a ripple of emotion spreading through the crowd. Alex felt the ache in his chest loosen, not gone but softer, like a note resolving into harmony. Forgiveness wasn't healing, not yet, but it was a step, a melody he could start to hear again. Later that evening, the community center pulsed with life, its modest hall transformed for the Chia Singot Ngao launch event. Volunteers strung fairy lights, kids clutched candy sticks, and a small stage held a lone guitar. Alex stood backstage, his fingers tracing the strings. The melody of Candy Magic now fully formed. A song about a child's gift, a spark that could light the darkest heart. He hadn't performed since Emily's death, but Lily's voice, her fearless joy, had brought him here. He spotted her in the crowd, her knit cap askew, waving a candy stick like a conductor's baton. Anna stood beside her face softer now, the new job at the center giving her a steadiness she hadn't known in years. Lily's eyes found him, and she broke free, darting through the crowd to hug his legs. You did it, she squealed, her voice high and gong-yu, her tongue peeking out. You're a real superhero now, 'cause you forgave the bad guy. Alex knelt, laughing softly, the first real laugh he'd felt in years. Only because you showed me how, he said, ruffling her hair. She thrust a new candy stick into his hand, red and gleaming. For extra magic, she declared, bouncing on her toes. Anna approached, her smile cautious but warm. She's right, she said. You're doing something big here. Alex took the stage, the guitar heavy in his hands, the crowd's murmur fading as he began to play. Candy Magic poured out, its melody simple yet piercing, each note carrying Lily's gift, Emily's dream, and his own fragile hope. One small spark, one sweet heart, lights the dark from the start, he sang, his voice raw but steady. The audience swayed, some holding candy sticks aloft, others wiping tears. Lily danced in the front, her movements clumsy and perfect, her laughter a counterpoint to the song's ache. As the final chord faded, the crowd erupted, their applause a wave that carried Alex forward. Anna met his gaze, her eyes shining with something like pride. Lily climbed onto a chair, waving her candy stick and shouting, "Sing it again!" The room laughed, the sound warm and alive. Outside, snow fell softly, but inside a new light burned. A light born from a child's candy, a man's forgiveness, and a song that would soon echo far beyond Brooklyn's streets. The glow of fairy lights from the community center's event lingered in Alex's mind as he unlocked his Greenwich Village apartment, now a haven rather than a tomb. The piano gleamed under a freshly opened curtain, its keys no longer a silent rebuke but an invitation. Anna and Lily had moved in days ago, their Brooklyn apartment lost to a broken heater and an unforgiving landlord. The space hummed with new life, Lily's crayons scattered across the coffee table, Anna's soft humming in the kitchen, the air laced with the scent of fresh-baked cookies. Alex set his guitar down, Lily's latest candy stick in his pocket beside her drawing, their presence a quiet anchor. Lily sprawled on the living room rug, her small frame dwarfed by one of Alex's old sweatshirts, her tongue peeking out as she scribbled with fierce focus. Anna sat on the sofa, folding a pile of clothes, her hands moving with the steady rhythm of someone learning to trust stability. Her new role at the community center, organizing art programs, had brought a spark to her eyes, though worry still lingered in their corners. Alex watched them from the doorway, his heart swelling with a feeling he hadn't named since Emily. A sense of home, fragile but growing. Anna glanced up, catching his gaze. "You're staring," she said, her voice teasing but soft. "Just glad you're here," Alex replied, his words careful, as if testing their weight. She nodded, her smile small but real. "It's strange. Feeling safe," she admitted, her hands pausing. "I haven't in a long time." She looked at Lily, who was humming off-key, oblivious to the weight of her mother's words. Alex sat beside her, the sofa creaking. "Tell me," he said gently, sensing her need to unburden. Anna exhaled, her voice low. "When I got pregnant with Lily, her dad left. Said he wasn't ready, didn't want the mess of it all. I worked double shifts, lived on coffee and hope, always one step from falling apart. I thought if I could just keep Lily smiling, it'd be enough. But some days," she trailed off, her eyes glistening. "Some days I was scared I'd lose her too." Alex listened, his chest tight. He saw Emily and Anna's strength, her quiet fight to keep going. "You're stronger than you know," he said. "Lily's proof of that." Lily looked up, sensing the shift in the air. "Mommy, no sad faces," she scolded, scrambling to her feet. She ran to her pile of drawings, pulling out a new one, a vibrant sketch of 3 stick figures under a rainbow, candy sticks raining around them. "This is us," she declared, thrusting it at Alex. "You, me, and Mommy, our candy family." Her eyes sparkled, her grin wide and gong-hu, her tongue poking out as she bounced. Alex took the drawing, his throat tightening. The figures were simple, but the love in their wobbly lines hit harder than any symphony he'd ever written. "You're my favorite artist," he said, kneeling to her level. "And you're the best superhero I know." Lily giggled, throwing her arms around his neck. "You're my favorite too," she said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "Stay with us forever, okay?" Alex's breath hitched, his eyes meeting Anna's. She nodded, a silent permission, a shared understanding that this wasn't about replacing anyone, but building something new. He thought of Emily, her letter about children's light guiding the way. "I lost my wife," he said, his voice steady but raw, directed at Anna. "Emily was my everything, my muse, my home. When she died, I stopped hearing music, stopped wanting to live. But Lily," he looked at the girl, still clinging to him, "she gave me a candy stick and saw me when I thought I was invisible. You both gave me a reason to try again." Anna's hand found his, a gentle squeeze. "You're giving us that too," she whispered, "a chance to be more than survivors." Inspired by Lily's drawing, Alex turned to Emily's fund, its modest sum waiting to breathe life into her dream. He met with the community center's director the next day, outlining plans for free art classes for kids like Lily, spaces where they could paint, draw, dream in color. "It's what my wife would have wanted," he said, his voice firm, "a place for kids to shine." Anna, now the program's manager, threw herself into the work, her organizational knack turning chaos into possibility. She watched Lily flourish in the classes, her drawings covering the center's walls, each one a testament to her boundless heart. Lily's influence rippled outward. She began leaving drawings for strangers at the center, bright sketches of candy sticks with notes like, "Smile big, it's sweet." Her small acts sparked smiles, conversations, a quiet shift in the community's pulse. Alex felt it too, the melody of candy magic growing richer, its lyrics weaving Lily's joy with Emily's legacy. He wasn't healed, but he was alive, tethered to this makeshift family by a child's faith and a mother's resilience. As night settled, Alex sat at the piano, Lily curled up nearby, asleep with a crayon in her hand. Anna stood at the window, watching snowflakes dance. "She thinks you hung the moon," she said, her voice soft. Alex smiled, his fingers brushing the keys. "She hung it first," he replied. The room filled with a soft chord, the start of something new. A song, a family, a light that refused to fade. Spring breathed life into Central Park, where cherry blossoms unfurled in clouds of pink, their petals drifting like soft promises on the warm breeze. The air buzzed with the laughter of children and the hum of a community festival, its makeshift stage adorned with ribbons and candy stick garlands. Alex stood backstage, guitar in hand, his heart a steady rhythm for the first time in years. Lily's drawing, their candy family under a rainbow, peeked from his pocket, a talisman beside the now faded candy stick wrapper. The melody of Candy Magic, born from a child's gift, was ready to soar, and he felt Emily's presence in every note. The festival sprawled across the park, a tapestry of color and sound. Kids darted between booths, clutching candy sticks and paper kites, their faces painted with stars and hearts. Anna moved through the crowd, her clipboard a shield of purpose, her role as manager of the community center's art program giving her a quiet confidence. Her eyes, once shadowed by worry, now sparkled as she directed volunteers, her laughter mingling with the spring air. Lily, in a bright yellow dress too big at the sleeves, was the heart of the chaos, handing out candy sticks with a grin that could melt the coldest winter. Her voice, high and gonging hue, carried over the chatter. "Take one. It's magic. Makes you smile big." Alex watched her from the stage's edge, his chest swelling with a warmth he hadn't thought possible since Emily's death. Lily's boundless joy, Anna's unyielding strength, they'd woven a home from the threads of his broken life. The art classes, funded by Emily's secret legacy, had transformed the community center into a haven where kids like Lily painted their dreams in vibrant hues. Anna's touch had turned it into something more. A place where hope grew, where families found footing. Alex's music, dormant for so long, had found its voice again, and tonight it would sing for them all. The crowd gathered as he stepped onto the stage, the guitar's weight familiar, grounding. He adjusted the microphone, his voice soft but clear. "This song is for a little girl who gave me a candy stick when I'd forgotten how to smile," he said, his eyes finding Lily in the front row. She waved her candy stick like a flag, bouncing on her toes, her tongue peeking out in excitement. "It's for her mother, who never stopped fighting, and for my wife, who taught me that kids are the light we follow." The crowd hushed, leaning in, their faces a mosaic of curiosity and emotion. He strummed the first chords of Candy Magic, the melody simple yet piercing, each note carrying the weight of a journey, from a lonely bench to this vibrant stage. "One small spark, one sweet heart, lights the dark from the start," he sang, his voice raw but steady, weaving Lily's gift, Emily's dream, and his own redemption into every line. The crowd swayed, some holding candy sticks aloft, others clutching hands, tears glinting in the spring light. Lily danced clumsily, her dress billowing, singing along with gong-hue words only she understood, her laughter a perfect harmony to Alex's song. Anna stood to the side, her clipboard forgotten, her eyes shimmering as she watched Lily. She caught Alex's gaze, mouthing, "Thank you." He nodded, his heart full. The song built, its chorus soaring. "A candy's glow, a child's no, leads us home, where love grows." The crowd joined in, their voices rising, a chorus of strangers turned family by a child's simple act. Lily climbed onto a chair, shouting, "Sing louder, superhero!" And the crowd laughed, their applause swelling like a wave. As the final note faded, Alex knelt at the stage's edge, where Lily scrambled up to hug him, her arms tight around his neck. "You sang the bestest song," she squealed, her eyes sparkling like the blossoms above. "You're my favorite superhero." Alex laughed, a sound bright and free, and ruffled her hair. "Only because you showed me how, kiddo." Anna joined them, her smile radiant, her hand resting briefly on Alex's shoulder. "I used to think surviving was enough," she said softly. "You and Lily showed me what living looks like." The festival continued, the park alive with music, laughter, and the sweet scent of candy. Reporters snapped photos, capturing Lily waving her candy stick, her dress a burst of yellow against the pink blossoms. Candy Magic played on radios that night, its melody spreading beyond New York, a reminder that one small act could ripple across the world. Alex, Anna, and Lily stood together as the sun dipped low, petals falling around them. They weren't bound by blood, but by something stronger: kindness, courage, and a shared light that had grown from a single candy stick. The park glowed under a sky streaked with gold, and Alex felt Emily's presence, not as a ghost, but as a blessing. Lily tugged his hand, pointing at a falling petal. "It's like candy from the sky," she giggled, spinning in the grass. Anna laughed, and Alex joined in, their voices weaving a new melody, one of hope, of home, of a family forged in the sweetest of sparks. A single candy stick, offered by a child's fearless heart, turned a broken man's grief into a symphony of hope. Lily's spark lit up New York, weaving Alex, Anna, and a community into a family bound by kindness. Her gift reminds us, even the smallest act can change a life, a world. Thank you for joining us in this heartwarming journey, for feeling every note of candy magic. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more stories that stir the soul, proving that love, like a candy's sweetness, never fades.